I'm Rena Hicks. I'm a licensed massage therapist, a physical therapist assistant, and a 200-hour Yoga Alliance registered yoga teacher. I own ReBalance Center, and I invite you now to join me as we rebalance our bodies and our minds. Let's explore the depths of our health and our intentions and connections. And through the practice of mindful meditation, through yoga, through breath awareness, and philosophy, we'll transform our old patterns and encourage healthy new ones. You'll emerge from this practice with a clearer perspective, an awakened purpose, and the awareness of the connectedness to yourself and to those around you. Rebalance yoga is not intended to diagnose or treat any illness, and as with any new exercise, please consult your physician or your healthcare provider. Enjoy. Welcome to this Rebalance Yoga, Foundations and Injury Prevention. Together we'll learn about yoga and its foundations, where it comes from, some of the principles of yoga, and how to prevent injury when practicing. I want to first thank Sandy from Life Beyond Barriers for providing me with this opportunity to give this as a gift to her employees. She knows that self-care is so important to people that do the type of work that you do. We know as healers that we provide a service that is very beneficial and very challenging. So coming up with ways to ground ourselves, to remain connected and appropriate self-care is really, really important. So thank you for taking on this journey. We need grounding practices now more than ever. 2020 has been a very difficult year, and surviving through a pandemic is no small feat. It's been very challenging. So I hope that these techniques and these principles will help keep you safe and help propel you into your own self-practice, a yoga practice that you can nurture yourself. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Rena Hicks, and I have been a physical therapist assistant for over 20 years. I've worked in many different environments, from the hospitals to long-term care, aquatic therapy, busy outpatient clinics with a sports emphasis, and I've been really focused towards trauma and chronic conditions. Really the chronic conditions that are called refractory to standard care, or a little more difficult to solve. It just ended up happening that I had chronic pain myself, and these clients kept finding me. So in an effort to heal myself as well, I've learned several techniques that really help to ease chronic issues and to relieve trauma. So I consider myself somewhat of a specialist, or specializing in trauma. From physical therapy, I also became a massage therapist, and so now I own ReBalance Center, which is focusing on trauma and chronic conditions. I see many folks who have been through auto accidents and trauma. I added yoga to my practice because I felt that it was the natural progression from physical therapy and massage, providing skills and healing for people was great, but I also wanted that client to be able to take on some of that responsibility by learning a technique that they could modify for themselves, and that was yoga. So I learned my yoga from Stephanie Lynn. She is also a Yoga Alliance registered teacher, a 500-hour teacher, and has a yoga teacher school. She learned from Sandra Carden in the Lake Leelanau area, and that's how our lineage goes. We always pay homage to those who taught us. My own yoga journey started when I was pregnant with my daughter, and that was over 21 years ago. It definitely prepared me for labor and for the sleeplessness and taught me a lot of patience. I was able to finally go inward and ask myself some of the more difficult questions in that stillness of yoga. I also used yoga in a way to somewhat abuse myself. I always thought that if I wasn't hurting, if I wasn't pushing enough, that I wasn't doing the right thing. And I often would pull hamstrings. I would be sore for days. I treated it like exercise and stretching without really truly taking on all of the limbs or the foundations of yoga. And so that's why it's so important that I want to share that with you today. You could treat yoga as just an exercise, but you'd be missing so much of what yoga has to offer. I think of it like a punchki. You could lick off the sugar, and that would be pretty good. Or you could lick the sugar and bite into that wonderful doughy donut, and that would be like amazing. But if you went further and you got into the center, that gooey raspberry filled center, you would have a whole package. And why not do that? Why not go for more of it? Because it's that gooey center that just makes your mouth sing, it makes your heart happy, and that's what yoga has to offer. It's a jelly donut, really. So yoga itself means unity. It means the unity of body, of mind, of soul. Yoga is not a religion. It is a science or a practice, and always, always practice. It's not something you have to be prepared to come to. Yoga meets you exactly where you are. It meets your body where you are. There is no perfect yoga body. If you have a body, you have a yoga body. Yoga can also be modified in any pose to accommodate your body. There are certain poses that I know I'm not able to achieve or the full extension of the pose, but that doesn't mean I can't benefit from the beginning pose or even just staying in the pose that works for my body. And that's why I love yoga so much. Yoga is also a way to improve our body awareness, our breath awareness, and give us clarity. It's a way to quiet the mind and to really work on and develop a self-discipline, discipline of the body, discipline of the mind. The autonomic nervous system gives us our fight, flight, and freeze. The fight or flight is a built-in hardwired system that keeps us safe. The freeze is also a built-in system so that when necessary, if we know that we cannot fight our way out of something or flee, we are able to power down and save and conserve our energy so that when we are able to escape, we can do so. Most of the time, we are in an ocean of internal and external input. This drives our hormones and sometimes will keep us in a dysregulated state. We see this with a lot of our clients who have been in auto accidents or through trauma. We create the chemicals adrenaline, cortisol, and norepinephrine that help give us that fight or flight and freeze. Every time the adrenals squirt out a little bit of adrenaline, it makes us fatigued. It's like throwing gasoline into the system all the time. So the relaxing hormones that we need to help balance, like oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, these are needed and can be achieved through deep breathing, through meditative practices, through certain postures. How often have I gone to treat somebody either through massage or physical therapy, or even in my yoga practice, trying to get someone to relax, and they just can't. They just don't have the ability. Let's also talk about mirror neurons. It's an exciting field of study because through the study of these mirror neurons, scientists are able to see that the reaction of someone observing someone doing something happy or fun is reflected in their own brainwaves. So just looking at somebody dancing gives you the same feeling as if you were dancing. It's a way that we can also build empathy. By just watching happiness, by seeing someone enjoying or connecting, we also feel that connection and joy. So I want to share an experience of connectedness that made my heart sing. I was on an island, Icaria, Greece, where my grandparents are from. This happened last year, and I went to a festival called a panegyri. The panegyri is a chance for the church to raise money, but it's also a chance for the entire village to come together. There's food, and there's drink, and there's dancing, and these panagiris can go on for days. It was the most amazing connected experience because my daughter and I went not knowing anybody and feeling a little bit nervous and apprehensive. Once we were there, we realized quickly that the Greeks will not allow you to sit alone and feel sorry for yourself. People were giving us gifts of food and asking us to dance, and it is a real testament to the connectedness that happens in these festivals. The practice of connection and love and joy was just so overwhelming and evident. So yoga itself is about 5,000 to 10,000 years old. It came from India, and the original language was Sanskrit. Yoga is not a religion, but more of a science. Let's talk about the 8-limb path of yoga. There are 8 principles or foundations in the practice of yoga. Number 1 is called the yamas. These are the moral observances, and they are nonviolence, non-stealing, non-hoarding. Gandhi himself devoted his entire life to nonviolence, and it can take a lifetime to work on just one of these principles, but they're the ways that we conduct ourselves. Number 2 is the niyamas. It's the self-discipline or the observances of spirit. Things like cleanliness, contentment, nurturing your spirit, your religion, the study of sacred texts or scriptures. It's surrendering to a higher power. Number 3 is asana. Asana is what we classically know as yoga. It's the poses. It's treating your body like the temple that it is by improving your physical and mental flexibilities. Number 4 is pranayama, or breath. It's also known as life force extension. There are many techniques, breathing techniques, that we can learn through yoga. Some that help to calm, some that invigorate. But it's a way to continue our practice to improve on the asanas that we're doing and to reach now to a higher level which is number 5, pratyahara. Pratyahara is a withdrawal of the senses. I love this one in particular. Yoga Nidra is a form of pratyahara. We withdraw the awareness of the external and go internal. It's a way to develop discipline so that we can then progress to number 6. Number 6 is dharana. Dharana is the addressing of the busy mind. It's concentration and preparing ourselves for meditation. It's different than meditation. Dharana is taking maybe one object and focusing your attention on that. Maybe a candle flame, maybe a lily pad in the water. Maybe it's the counting of cars as you watch people go by. Another form of dharana would be to take a cherry in the mouth and just hold it. Contemplate where the cherry came from. Contemplate the size, the feel. And then as you slowly bite into the cherry, contemplating now the taste, feeling the physicality, the explosion of taste within the mouth, and following that all the way through. Dhyana is meditation. Meditation and contemplation. It's the ability to be keenly aware, but without a focus. It's a way to feel that connectedness within the entire world, without one focus, without one concentration. It takes a lifetime of practice. It's not easy. Even if you never achieve full meditative connectedness, you still are benefiting even from the trial, even from attempting it. And number 8 is samadhi. Samadhi is the reason we do it. It's the ecstasy and joy of practicing yoga. It's the fulfillment, freedom, and peace that we achieve. And this is a constant practice as well. So let's talk about injury prevention. Of course, we're talking about when in poses, but injury prevention is really awareness. Having the awareness of where we are in space, having awareness of our bodies, having awareness of our needs and our challenges at that moment. I think it's really staying connected and present in your moment right now. I always remind my students when practicing yoga, make sure that this is the absolute and most important thing that you can do right now. Stay connected, stay with it right now. Knowing that right now is a fleeting moment anyways, but trying to stay right here, right now and present. If other thoughts creep up in your mind, see if you can just set them aside and stay present in your body. So you'll know before your hamstring has the tension that could pull and cause a strain, you'll know when the core is not activated and you need to activate it. It's taking the time and the mindfulness to be connected in this body at this moment. Body awareness and breath awareness helps us to focus on our current needs a whole lot better. With our body, we want to hydrate, we want to feed it well, and we want to know when we need to rest. We need to know when we need that connection and love, and when we need to be more solitary. It helps our brains by being quiet in our thoughts, calming what we call monkey brain, all of those many thoughts and the background stories that keep playing. Yoga helps to stop any violent or unkind stories playing in the back of our minds. How many of us hear the story, "You're not good enough, you're not flexible enough"? Through yoga, we can also increase the awareness of what our brains need to be able to quiet the mind, quiet our thoughts, to be able to stop any violent or unkind stories that we're telling ourselves, to be able to understand the motivations of our own ego and sometimes the motivations of others. It's finding truth. Do I really want to look good for others by practicing yoga? Or do I really want to have a deeper understanding of myself? Am I feeding my ego, or am I truly looking for connection and a better, greater awareness of myself? And then also for our spirit. Do I need this practice to improve my connection with myself, my world? Can I balance my busy life and reach that eighth goal of samadhi, of freedom, of peace, with a calming practice or an energetic one? Another way to look at injury prevention is to look at our quality of life. If you have a very busy life where you're darting from one thing to the next, and when you go home, all you want to do is rest, sometimes, maybe, your practice is one of rest. If you have the type of job where you're sitting a lot and you're on the phone, or you are in more stationary or less active daily practices, you might want a yoga practice that then invigorates and balances that quietness of your life. This will change with every change within your life, but being open to the different types of yoga will be very helpful in balancing. So let's talk specifically about injury prevention when it comes to certain areas of the body. For shoulder impingements, it's really important that when you're doing your poses, you're very aware of where the shoulders are placed. So starting maybe in mountain pose, where we are shoulders back, shoulder blades are down. This is a great opener and a foundation to the practice of yoga. Starting in that mountain pose, the shoulders are open, the collarbones are wide, and we actually maintain this posture and position throughout most of our practice. If you think about down dog or chaturanga, chaturanga is our reverse push-up. If we round forward, we're going to impinge the shoulders. So thinking of that mountain pose, we maintain that chaturanga or reverse push-up. The same holds true with up dog. Extending the arms so that the body hangs through, shoulders back in that mountain pose will keep us from impinging or even impinging at the neck. Hamstring flexibility is something that improves with time. Being able to reach down to the floor and touch your toes is great, but not everyone can start out doing that. So if in your practice, your hamstrings, the backs of the legs are very tight, go ahead and bend the knees. Again, being aware of your body and being present in your body, you will have the awareness to know that to push or to stretch will either strain the hamstrings or strain the low back. The low back and the hamstrings definitely play together. So modify your poses when needed so that you avoid any injury to the hamstrings. Core strength is a huge thing to think about when doing your practice. Core strength, I always say, hold the navel to the spine. And this is to remind you that even in those practices where you seem like you're not doing much, mountain pose maybe, definitely though for plank, chaturanga, or reverse push-up, the core is activated so that your natural girdle of your back extensors and abdominals are working together to hold the spine in a nice alignment, giving it symmetry, making sure that you are strong within your posture. And this takes practice as well. When performing any balance activities, if you know that your balance is compromised, please be safe by maybe placing a chair with a chair back close to you, or practicing in the corner of a room so that if you lose your balance, you're easily caught by the wall. I always advise people in my physical therapy practice and in my yoga practice that if balance is a challenge, allow yourself the challenge, but make sure that you're safe doing it. Our spine health and the curves of our spine are enhanced and improved when we work on our strength, our flexibility, and our endurance. So be kind with your practice. Know that it's a practice. Let's work now on dharana, or focused attention. Let's work now on dhyana, or meditation. I hope this helped you in developing your foundation and knowing how to prevent any injuries when you're performing your yoga. And I hope that you get to that 8th pinnacle samadhi, the joy and freedom and absolute bliss that yoga can provide. Thank you for being present with me. Thank you for going on this journey. Namaste.